Hey there, wanted to go through a quick real estate market snapshot. There's been so much information on the news and in social media, and certainly around the country. Maybe real estate and the seller's market, or the lack of the seller's market, looks a little grim. In fact, there is a leading social media site that posts on Instagram, and they posted this housing market update for July. Inventory up 21 straight months, sales at multi-decade lows, median monthly payment plus 1,200 since 2019, 20% plus of sellers cut prices, delisting surging, single family starts down 10%, homes under construction down 15%. Now, that feels like a lot of bad things. And real estate is a hyper local market, but we pay attention to national media. So there's obviously a tension that's there. But when I look at what the state of the Chattanooga market looks like, I actually see a lot of health inside of the market. So we have been in a seller's market since the end of 2020, right? COVID happened. Nobody knew what was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, there had been an existing lack of supply in the real estate market. And then COVID really caused that to surge. Also, there was a lot of money being pushed out into the economy because of the stimulus checks. So then people had a lot of money to use as a down payment, to use to go above asking price. And then the federal government had lowered the overnight lending rate to zero. And so money was very cheap. There was a lack of supply. Money was cheaper. Money was sitting in our checking accounts because the federal government had put it there. And then all of a sudden, everything exploded. And we were in a crazy seller's market. Now, things have changed a lot, and they really have flipped. We're certainly in more of a buyer's market. I would argue that it's a balanced market more than anything else. And it's definitely different than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. And so all the pundits would have you believe that things are just terrible, crazy. The market's in the tank. Delistings are surging. Foreclosures are up. But the reality is, so many of those sensationalist headlines are really manufactured when you look at the trend over time. And there's really great news here in Chattanooga. Let's talk about what the good news is. So first of all, just within the past week, I love to look at weekly stats because GCAR also puts out, that's our local board, they also put out monthly stats. So weekly stats, we have 422 new listings over the past 7 days. Okay, so that's fine. We're all hearing there's so many more listings, so many less buyers than there are listings that are available. But when we look at pending and contingent, so homes that have gone under contract in the past week, in our MLS, it's 310. So that's sitting at right at 75% of the number of listings that have gone on the market. 75% of that number has gone under contract. Why is that good news? That's good news because if we were looking below 50%, we would probably be in trouble, because that means that those listings are just going to start stacking up on top of each other and get larger and larger and larger. Because we have 75% of that number that has gone under contract, that means we are in that balanced market where there are going to be more listings than what we see people going under contract. And it doesn't mean that it's this insane seller's market where there are way too many homes for the number of buyers that are out there. When we look at canceled, expired, and withdrawn, that's 131 in the past week. So that's 25% of the new listings. So that's sort of what we're using as our benchmark. How many new listings are there in the market, and then what are the other numbers doing in regard to that? So canceled, expired, withdrawns, that's only 25% of those. And I'll tell you that a lot of that number is going to be new construction. Builders are putting new construction on when they break ground or when they prepare the site, and they're leaving those homes on for 100, 200, sometimes 300 days. Those listings are expiring. They're renewing them. Okay, and then also back on market is 100, meaning that there were homes that went under contract for whatever reason. Those buyers got out of that contract. Those homes went back on the market. Now 25% back on market, that's a lot. What that shows me is that buyers are being a whole lot more choosy in this market, because they can be. 3-4 years ago, buyers, they just had to sign on the dotted line. Hey, I hope you love it. If you don't, too bad. That's not really how it was, but that's how it felt. There were a lot less homes that went back on the market. And then price change is 487. So again, 422 new listings. There were 487 price changes. Now, a lot of people are saying like the market's cratering. That's certainly not the case. What's happening is the market is shifting, and so what we're counseling all of our sellers to do is, hey, we're going to price it based upon data. We don't price based on feelings. We're going to price based upon data, and then we're going to allow the market to show us where we actually need to be. So if a seller is adjusting their price by $10,000, there's no harm and no foul there, right? The seller is finding where their home is perfectly priced and positioned in the market so that they can receive more showings and then also receive more offers. Listen, we are having a lot of luck right now with our buyers in this market. There still are some situations where we've seen multiple offer situations, so it's on each side of the spectrum, but for the most part, buyers are having a lot of luck. When we say a lot of luck, we don't mean that buyers are going in $60,000 under asking and getting that house. That's certainly not what's happening. They are entering the market at a great spot with data, with research to show that what they are offering on the home is a good price. The sellers are respecting that. In most cases, buyers are even getting closing costs and concessions along with the price. And then also we're having great success with our sellers. Things are not selling in 5 days anymore. They just aren't. Okay? They're taking longer, more like 30 days, 45 days. And just because it's taking longer doesn't mean that sellers are receiving less for their property. This is a balanced market for sure. When we look at the absorption rate between 4 and 6 months, that's the kind of market that we're looking at. That's a healthy market, and in that market, everybody wins. As always, if you need anything, let us know. We want to help you. We want to help somebody you know buy, sell, invest in real estate. We would love to help you out.